the real stuff starts now. This is where I configure my conditions, link the conditions, and once the conditions are done, specify when the user logs in, when the initial user logs in, any group, you put him into this state called the non-compliant state because he has not run the NAC agent. As soon as he runs the NAC agent, a posture session will come back, either compliant, non-compliant. Based on that token, I will move him from one policy to the other. So when the user logs in, initially he's going to be put into this, he's going to use this policy called the non-compliant policy. At that time, he just gets access maybe to a DHCP server, DNS server, and ISE. That's it. So it can get an IP address, it can resolve the ISE name, and the third thing is access to the ISE. That's all he can do at the time he first logs in. I'll create an ACL called a pre-auth ACL that will only allow this guy to do that. He needs to browse. As soon as he browses, he will get validated. His PC will get scanned. If the PC gets a compliant status, he will then move into another policy automatically. Let's take a look. To do that, what I'll do, need to reopen this. I'll start by creating a policy condition. What is that? This is where, for example, this one, I'm going to do lab 2 and 3 together. Lab 2 is for operating system and antivirus requirement. Lab 3 is for application requirement. So I can show you both things simultaneously. All right. First thing that I need to do is set my condition up. What condition is that I want in my network? Where do I do it? Go to policy. One of the options is conditions. All right. Go under posture. When you go to posture, these are the different conditions that you can set. Registry condition, application condition, services, like different services running on the box, antivirus, antivirus, anti-spyware, antivirus, dictionary, simple, compound. You can do a whole bunch of different conditions. In my case, I want to do a couple. I want to do one for example, an antivirus. These are the default one, any antivirus on Mac or Windows. Okay? But I don't want to do that. I want to add my own. I want to do one for semantic, and let's pick one and then I'll show you what you can specify. I'll pick the operating system, any Windows. Okay? But then in terms of the vendor, I want semantic, right? Or the other ones that you have listed over here, all of them pop up. When I click on semantic, one of the things will pop up is all the different latest versions and releases of the different products. When I did the posture offline upload of that zip file, remember the one that took 20 minutes up front? This is from there. If you did not upload the offline database or downloaded the file directly into ISE, you would not have access to the latest versions in this basic database. And you need to keep on updating this, because as new antivirus programs come up, they have different type of things that you come in. So I can say it has to be what? Norton Antivirus 17X. All right? So that's my company policy. Or I could have said what? Any antivirus. Any what antivirus? Any semantic antivirus for the selected vendor. You get my point? So you can be very specific in terms of, or you can select what? This one, or that one, or that one. These are the ones that are allowed. Clear? And you can do it for different vendors over here. Once I'm done with that, I'll click on submit. I don't have it anyway, so it's going to fail. That's semantic. And you could do other ones as well. Now, I haven't applied it to any group right now. I'm just creating the condition right now. Similarly, I'll show you another one that I can check, called an application condition. What's an application condition? It goes and checks the processes to see if a particular process is running on that PC. If it's running, allow it or disallow it. Okay? How do I create that? These are the normal ones, predefined ones. I'll create my own. I'll call it, let's call it required app. Let's say a company wants a particular app to be running on the PC before it's allowed to come in. Maybe a time clocking app or something to that effect. In my case, I don't have that. I'll just run Notepad. If Notepad is not running, don't allow it. But I'll select the operating system as well. And if you want, you can be very specific. I only want Windows 7 to come in, or 8 to come in, or XP to come in. Do you understand what I'm trying to get to? So I'll just say Windows all, any Windows. Good. So I have a required app. There we go. I didn't make any. I have a required app which is running what? Notepad. So I created these conditions at this point. I'm going to use these conditions in conjunction with what? A particular group, or maybe for everybody. It's up to you. So at this point, I'm just creating the conditions. Once the condition is done, then I can create what is known as a posture validation policy. This is the place that I'll call it and specify it for a particular group. By default, no policy is engaged. All of them are off. These are policy check for antivirus installation, blah, 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 predefined ones. I'll create my own. I'll call this sales PV. All right? Group plus, as the name suggests, sales. Good. Select operating system. I can select the operating system if I want, or I can leave it up. It's entirely up to you. I'll say Windows all. And then the requirement. Select the requirement. These are the default ones. I don't want to do that. I want to create my own requirement. Click on it. Create a new requirement. Let's call it sales required app. Met if. Remember that Notepad? All these conditions, I created a Notepad application condition. Remember that? So it pops up over here. So that's why I had to create it over here so I can call it down here. What am I saying? This requirement is true if required app is true. And when will required app be true? If notepad.exe is running where? On my PC. And if it's not, I can give them a message. Like what? Please run notepad.exe and rescan. Alright, so if the user does a scan, web agent runs, says, hey, listen, this is not running, this is the message that will pop up. Done with that? So what am I specifying in this policy? Sales PV will be true if this condition is met. What? Sales required app, which is Notepad, is running. Similarly, I'll create another one for marketing. Insert new policy. Group. Marketing. Operating system. Windows. And the requirement. Not this one. I need to do what? My own. What's the requirement going to be? Mark AV. I don't need the condition. I need the, I need a condition actually. What condition do I need? User defined. It'll be under what? Antivirus. It'll be that semantic one. Remember that? And again, please install the appropriate semantic AV. Clear? Save and select, and done. So all my conditions have been set. Now is the time I create my authorization profiles to allow this access. Where's sales? Sales and marketing. The reason they're up and down is because of the alphabets. M is before P and all that. Good? Both are there. Now comes the actual linking part. First thing that I'll do is I'll go to policy, results, and I will create a downloadable ACL. This downloadable ACL, I'm going to call it pre-auth. Means when the user comes in, before he has authenticated, what does he have access to? He should have very limited access. He should have access to, and be careful when you're typing this in, because it does not do a syntax check. Boot PS is your DHCP server and client. Boot PC is for client. Boot P is the DHCP protocol, by the way. I need access for DNS, and I need access to the ISE, because ISE is the one that will download what? The NAC agent, the web agent, run the report, needs to communicate to the ISE. The reason I said IP, not TCP, NE, and a port number, because it's running Java, and Java uses a range of ports to communicate. So you should give access to what? To the ISE at that point. It needs to communicate to ISE. So when the user will log in, he will be assigned this particular pre-auth ACL. So he can only do these type of things, nothing else. Good? Clear? So I create this ACL, I'm setting it up so I can use it. So I now have a pre-auth ACL. If you remember from yesterday, I have the sales wired and marketing wired ACLs as well. I also have a profile for sales wired and sales marketing. I'll use them. But before that, I need to create that non-compliant, the initial profile. In that profile, I'll call it the non-compliant. Downloadable ACL, which one? Pre-auth. I'll put him in VLAN 100. All right, very important. This is how it does the authentication. It's called posture discovery. It's called posture discovery. And you specify an ACL. I'll call it REDIR. This ACL is the name of an ACL that I need to create on the switch, which tells the switch that don't, what I permitted over there, except for that, everything should be redirected towards the ISE. I'll explain that in a second. Whatever you created as a pre-auth ACL, the complete opposite will be created as a redirection ACL on the switch. I'll come to that in a second, but just remember the name of the ACL is what? Reader. What it does is it will push down the name of the ACL to the switch. Hey, listen, redirect all this traffic to me. What all this traffic? Don't redirect DHCP traffic to me, don't redirect DNS traffic to me, or the other stuff. Except for that, everything should be redirected to me. If he does a web request, send it to me. So that traffic, the one that you allowed in the pre-auth ACL, should be denied from redirection. The rest of the traffic should be redirected towards the ISE. Although I just created the name over here, I need to have the actual ACL created on the switch. I'll do that in a second. So what did I do in this non-compliant policy? A DACL based on the pre-auth, VLAN 100, WebAuth, posture discovery with an ACL called reader. That will be, the name will be downloaded towards the switch. Done. I already have my sales and wired auth profiles, which basically put it, I think, in VLAN 20 and 30. Remember that? So now, all this done, I'll go to my authorization. I'll create a brand new authorization. I'll do it at the top. Insert new. I'll call it non-compliant. Any group, sales or marketing. Condition. Normal one. Which one? Wired 802.1x, but I'm going to add another attribute to it for it to be non-compliant. What is that attribute? The attribute is based on the session. Posture status not equals, okay, compliant. So what I'm saying is it has to be wired 802.1x and the session posture should be what? Non-compliant. If it's non-compliant, give him this profile. And by default, everybody coming in will be non-compliant because their posture has not been run. So I'm going to give him what? Where's the NC? There you go. Take a look at what I've done. I've said any user coming in, if it's a wired 802.1x connection and the posture status not equal to compliant, give him the non-compliant policy. What is inside the non-compliant policy? The pre-auth ACL VLAN 100. Then you have educated the user to do a browse. When he does a browse, what happens? It will go and redirect towards what? The ISE. ISE will show him a page, install the web agent or the NAC agent. He scans the machine, sends a report. Sends a report. In the report, if it's compliant, guess what? The token would change. From what? Posture status, with the session would change from what? Non-compliant to compliant if everything is met. If it's not met, it'll give the remedial text message that I gave. So where do I do that from? All I need to do is, I already have these ones. Let me just move them. I'll move the mark up over here. Oh no, this is wireless. I need, I don't need to because these are all different ones, but just to speed up things. All right, let's check now. So I have non-compliant, sales.1x, mark.1x. But now with this guy over here, I need to change the condition. It is wired 802.1x, but add that attribute. Which one? Session, posture status equals compliant. then give him sales auth. So the only way he's going to get sales auth is if his posture status is compliant. I'll do the same thing with what? Mark. Edit. Add a new attribute. Session. Posture status equals compliant. Done. So take a look at these three. Non-compliant says what? If it does not equal compliant, give him non-compliant. When he becomes compliant, change him to what? This particular auth if it's from sales, this particular auth if it's from marketing. Good. Save it, and I'm done. So if I had to recap these steps, let it save it, and then I'll test it. What are the steps that I took to do that? Oh, I'm not done actually. I still need to go to the switch and create that reader. Let it save it first, and then we'll go to the switch, and I'll also write the steps over there. Done? So if you take a look over here, you have non-compliant, sales.1x wired, mark.1x wired. Now, let's make it smaller. Let's go to my switch. IP access dash list extended has to be called redirect. Over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to deny what? UDP any EQ boot P C and S, deny UDP any EQ 53, deny IP any host. Permit IP any. So if you take a look at this ACL, it's denying what access? It's not access actually. What is it doing? This ACL is for redirection. This traffic will not be redirected. It will go to the appropriate device. So when the device sends a DHCP request, let it go directly. All the other traffic should be redirected towards what? To the ISE. And it will download that URL for the ISE as part of the posture discovery. You'll see that in a second. Then I created the ACL over here. The port that I'm going to use for the client is port 22. I think I already have that over here from a previous lab. Yeah, port 22 should be .1x authentication. Same config that I have on 18, 21, 22, all of the same. So the port is ready. Now which port is that? Now let's test it over here. I'm going to go to my client. This port that I enabled, port 22 on switch 2, is this particular port. I'm going to disable the other ones now. Minimize this. I'm going to disable the ISE port. Instead, this is the port that is the one that is connected over there. So I'll go to properties first. Actually, I need to enable it. Make sure this one has the authentication set properly. Why is it not giving me the authentication? Okay. Seems like as the service is not on. Yeah. There you go. Let me see if it is there now. Yeah. Authentication. Settings. Done. This is my client. So I've disabled what? I'll disable all the other NICs. So the only NIC that is available right now is this one. Alright, all the NICs are disabled over here, including the one that I was connecting to ISE. I'll enable it. Prompts me for a username password. What happened? Alright. Let's try one more time. Let's give it a minute. It should pop up with that thing. Oh, there you go. That's why it was hidden. Sales, Cisco 123. All right. It's connected. Okay. Now if I open my command prompt up, it's in the 100 network. Good. I want you guys, before we do anything over here, to take a look at this. What has happened on the switch side? Show authentication sessions interface /0/22. Notice the name of the reader, the ACL is reader that has been downloaded. This is the pre-auth ACL that was downloaded, and this is the URL for redirection. Any traffic coming in will be redirected towards ice.networks.in in:8443. So what I need to do is I need to instruct the user to browse somewhere on the internet, anywhere, and that browse will be sent to the ISE. So I'll open my browser up, open a new window. I'll browse to http://r1.networks.in. Yeah, that's okay. I put too many T's. I had 4. Connecting. As soon as it browsed, it redirected me towards what? ISE.networks.in. Why? Because of the switch. So as soon as I send the request, switch said, hey, listen, this is not the traffic that is supposed to go. It needs to be redirected. It redirects it to the ISE engine. It says, click to install the agent. Yeah, that's fine. Continue. Don't block. Install run the NAC agent. Now this is a sales user. So when it runs a web agent, it's going to look for what? It's going to look for that notepad application. It's not going to find it because I'm not running it. Sales required app, please run notepad.exe and rescan. Rescan is the option I have over here. Good? So now what I'm going to do is run it, minimize it so that the process is still running, rescan it. Successfully logged on to the network. Now if you go back to my command prompt, and I check my IP, I move to the 20 network. Not only that, I should be able to ping whatever. Because as soon as my NAC agent ran and notepad was there, it was fine. The profile, the posture token coming back to the ISE was, hey, listen, this guy is compliant now. He says, okay, he's part of sales, compliant, download that profile. Good. Similarly, I'll do okay, stop this, minimize, disable, re-enable it, mark 1, Cisco 123, enabled. I'm in the 100 again. Go back to Mozilla. Scanning your system. Remember, because it's marketing, it would fallen under the other one. Please install the appropriate semantic antivirus. I can be more descriptive. I can actually give them a link over here where they can download it if you have it in the company. Cool? That is lab number 2 and lab number 3. Now, what I want to do is I want to write these steps down in Notepad so you guys can see them. Number 1, step number 1 was client condition. Sorry. We went to what? Policy condition to set what condition? Policy results, I believe. Policy results, and then under policy results we do client provision. Actually, rather than writing this, what I'll do is this. Let me show you. Upload the NAC/web agent. Good? That's where you do it. Once you're done with that, configure the client provisioning policy to install the NAC/web agent. This is done under policy client provisioning. You need to be careful. This is under policy results client provisioning. This is under policy provisioning. All right? Once this is done, step 3 we created was configure the conditions. What conditions? Like AV condition, application condition, let's say registry condition. You can even say this registry entry needs to be present, so on and so forth. Where? Under policy, conditions, and this is for posture. Good? This is done. Step 4, configure the posture validation policies. Policy, posture validation. That's where I configured what? Sales with this particular policy with the appropriate policy. Marketing with the appropriate. Remember that? Where I created that condition saying no, call that condition and all that. Step 5, configure your non-compliant authorization policy. This is done under policy, results. What do I do over here? First, create the pre-auth ACL. What does that contain? Permit, UDP, any EQ, boot PC, boot PS, 53, connectivity to your ISE device. Good? Authorization policy should contain what? Landing VLAN. Landing VLAN means where does a device get put into initially. Pre-auth ACL. Web authentication using what? Posture discovery. And the redirection ACL name. Good. Or I'll just call it RADIR. Done. Once this is taken care of, configure authorization policy for non-compliant and normal. With what? Group. Non-compliant will be what? Group any. What else? Method would be .802.1x wired. Posture status not equals, don't put equals non-compliant, put not equals compliant, because there's also an initial one, learning or something, unknown, initially it gets put into unknown, and from unknown it goes to non-compliant before it checks it. So you need to say not equal to compliant. That means either it's unknown or non-compliant. You should use this policy. And the auth mechanism is going to be the one that I created in the previous one. Non-compliant. That's where you apply this authorization policy. Let's call it NC auth. So you understand what I'm talking about. Done? Taken care of? Also your sales would have what? Same type of thing. Group, I'll say sales equals compliant, and then you would apply what? The normal sales auth. And same thing with marketing. Last step, five, 6, and 7. Last step, create the ACL on the switch with the same name. Deny the pre-auth traffic, because that you don't want to redirect. Permit the rest for redirection. It's not for allowing it, it's for redirection. So I call it what? Access IP access dash list extended, and this is your ACL. Done? Save as. I'll just PV steps on the desktop and I'll upload it. Good? That's lab 2 and 3, because I wanted to do both together because they jive with each other.